Hi, it's me, Charity Lowe. Today I'm going to be showing you how to draw an 18 by 24 inch drawing using Vinci. So let's get started. So today I'm going to be using my graphite pencils, which is 8B, 4B, H, H4, and then a black watercolor pencil, my different erasers, including my knead eraser, a small paintbrush, some chalk, some white acrylic, tissue paper, and some water. Today I am working on a commission piece that I received. I have received permission to use this for the purposes of teaching. So the setup I have right now is that I'm using Google Chrome to mirror the image that's on the device that I'm using for Vinci. I have the device up high enough so that it can see the entire page. This allows me to get the layout exactly the way that I want it. Right now I am just making some guidelines. This includes the hair, the face shape, the eye shape, the nose, the lips. This will help make sure that everything is lined up while I do smaller sections. I brought the stand down so I'd be able to see the image on the phone itself. I'm going to be starting with the child. So the first thing I did was to make sure that the camera was able to see the entire area in which the child is going to be on my drawing. Then I moved the image to line up with the guidelines that I made earlier. Now I am zooming into one section. I have it on breakdown mode. And I made sure there was 5 steps because I have 4 different pencils and I wanted the last step to be blank. And I'm just working in one section at a time, going from darkest to lightest. There's little squares on the bottom and each one indicates the shade that you need to have for each step. It will only show you one shade at a time. Even though I can see the lady's face in this particular place, I'm not going to be focusing on that because later on, if things don't line up perfectly, the drawing itself will still look normal. So I'm just repeating the steps from darkest to lightest in every single section, doing one little section at a time. Here I'm going to be taking a tissue paper and I'm going to be blending it out now. I usually start with the skin tone and then the facial features and then the clothing. Now I'm going to turn off breakdown mode and turn it back on again. This will bring back the options for me, so I'm going to increase the exposure and increase the amount of steps. This point I am looking for the darkest darks. So I'm just going from 1 to 2 until I start seeing some red in areas. I'll be using my black watercolor pencil for this and filling in as dark as I can in the red areas. Now I'm going to turn off breakdown mode and turn it back on, decrease the exposure and leaving the steps to the maximum. I'm doing the opposite of what I just did, so I'm going to be looking for the brightest areas, going from one step at a time till I see some red on the image. So I'm going to be taking one of my erasers and I'm going to be erasing the red areas. Here I'm turning off breakdown mode, increasing the opacity, and turning on strobe. This step will allow me to compare my drawing to the original image. I typically use 4B and HB for the steps. Sometimes I will go in lightly with the black watercolor. And for smaller details like hair strands, I will be using the 4H. This step takes the longest. You're playing a game of spot the difference, and you have to change the one image to match the other as best as you can. It's continuously blending and building up the shades and a little bit of erasing. Now, after spending days working on this, I am going to be looking at the original picture on my tablet. This will help me see the details a little bit clearer. Now I'm going in with just a wet paintbrush and I'm going over the really dark areas, trying to give it more shape and depth. Now I'm taking some white acrylic and I am just working on the highlights, and this will help the image pop more. Now I am using some chalk on the skin. That'll help it make it look more smooth and also blend it a little bit better. Now I'm just taking one of my erasers and I'm just cleaning up the edges around the child. Now that I'm done drawing the child, I am going to be working on the grandmother's face. First, what I did was I wanted to make sure that the area that I wanted to draw was in the frame of the camera. And then I lined it up to what I've already drawn, as well as the guidelines that I have made earlier. It wasn't perfectly lined up, but that's okay. It still came out pretty good. Now I am going to be doing the same steps that I did earlier with the child, starting off with breakdown mode, using 5 different steps, going in and filling in one section at a time, going from darkest to lightest and leaving the lightest blank. This pretty much sums up my video for today. There will be a part 2 coming up. If you have any general questions about the app, you can contact the creators at info@davinciiapp.com. If you have any questions about this video or a request for future videos, you can contact me directly at Charity Lowe's Art on Facebook or Instagram. I hope this video was helpful to you, and keep on creating.